Player 2 has entered the game.
And you got what?
Player 2 has left the game.
It seems to be the time to release zombie horde shooters again, with Back 4 Blood releasing in a couple of weeks, but before Back 4 Blood was even a thing and after the hype of Left 4 Dead, we had World War Z. A great book, a mediocre movie, and a video game that when looking at it on the surface level seemed to have the stylings of that movie, but with a bit more than that. Well, now we've got World War Z Aftermath, which is basically like a Game of the Year edition for the original release, with some new classes, new levels, characters to play as, and a new way to play. If you've played titles like the aforementioned Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood, then you know exactly what you're here with, well, World War Z. It's a mass horde zombie shooter where you and 3 other friends or AI will move through zombie-infested zones, hold down positions, and retrieve an item while waves upon waves of zombies are thrown at you. However, there are some differences to the genre made famous by Left 4 Dead. When you look at its core gameplay, yes, World War Z is basically the same as Left 4 Dead, but there's different classes and weapon systems and enemy variants in a way too. Firstly, each level has multiple acts, quite like yes, Left 4 Dead, but each level takes place in a different part of the world where you'll play as different characters. For example, the first level takes place in New York City, where one of the new levels in Aftermath takes place in Rome, so you won't be following a group of characters as they set across the globe like Brad Pitt does.
How did I get such a perfect husband? How did I get such a beautiful wife?
Anyways, before missions you'll decide on what physical character you want to play as and then what class you want to play. Aftermath adds a new class called Vanguard, which gives the character a special shield ability to use, which was as useful as Conor McGregor's ankles.
Oh, what was I laughing at now? Oh yes, that crippled Irishman.
Basically, each class changes what weapons you start with and allow you to have special perks and abilities. For example, the Slasher class has you use a stun gun as your special ability, so you can shock enemies that are grouped together and you'll deal more melee damage, where the standard shooter just uses grenades. But the Vanguard has a small shield, smaller than Captain America's shield, and has an electrical charge attached to it to basically hold the position from some zombies. That's like expecting a sock with a hole in it to contain a fat wad of cum. It's basically a small shield, roughly the size of a trash can lid, that's supposed to hold back zombies. It would have been smarter, cooler, and more practical to have a riot shield that deploys like we've seen in, say, Rainbow Six Siege or the new class in Aliens Fireteam Elite. Thankfully though, there are a heap of other classes to use if the Vanguard isn't your deal. Just like in Left 4 Dead, there are special classes of zombies, however there isn't a heap of different zombies, nor do they look overly special, but just more logical. There is a tank class here called the Bull, which is basically a zombie in riot gear. They'll run and charge at you and have a larger amount of health. There is a toxic gas cloud zombie that are zombies in hazmat suits that when you shoot and kill them, they'll leak toxic gas.
And I think it's ironic that for once Dad's butt prevented the release of toxic gas.
There's a zombie variant that simply screams and calls other zombies to your position. There's another one that spits on you, infecting you and blinding you, and if you don't clean the spit off your character, you'll turn into a zombie. It's not a over-the-top comical-esque stylings that we've had in previous zombie horde shooters, but more realistic. Like, it makes sense that the tank zombie class is a riot soldier, they've got armor and they've got a helmet on. That the hazmat suits when shot let out poisonous gas. It's kinda smart too, and I kinda like that approach. Also, unlike other games, the zombies here in World War Z are huge in numbers. Just like in the movie, they'll make pyramids on top of each other to climb walls. There's hundreds of zombies sprinting towards you on screen at the one time, and in some areas too, you'll need to hold a position and fortify your defenses.
Come on! Hold!
You can set up sentry turrets and mortar launchers, and a cool but weirdly set up electrical grids from fences that are on the ground. Of course, sentry turrets and mortars and the electric grids won't hurt you or other players, only zombies. It can be kinda daunting seeing a massive wave of zombies sprinting towards you like a group of Karens running towards a Starbucks when pumpkin spice is back on the menu.
I would like iced coffee, and I don't drink coffee. I ask for a chocolate milkshake.
With World War Z 2, the more you play, the more you level up your classes and weapons. Use the Slasher class mostly, then you'll be leveling up that class and unlocking additional abilities and perks for that class, and the same goes with weapons. The more you use a specific weapon, you'll basically level up that weapon and unlock attachments and gear. Now, if you've got World War Z Aftermath 2, you'll immediately have access to some rare weapon variants, some of which look like they've been pulled right out of Rainbow Six Siege. The main addition to Aftermath is 2 new missions in Rome and in a frozen Russia area with some returning characters. They're basically the by the numbers mission, so if you've played World War Z or any of these styles of game before, then you know exactly what you're in for.
It's pretty standard, really.
Also, we have the addition of first person mode, which works and doesn't really work at the same time. You'll simply go into the options menu and change the view style a bit like how you could in the old Battlefront games, and it simply changes over in game for you. You won't need to reboot the game or leave the session or anything like that. In first person, World War Z has some fantastic atmosphere and even some great horror moments when you see a lurker waiting to pounce on you.
There's the lurker!
Oh! Lurkers, for anyone interested, are burnt zombies that are still alive that just hide and wait and then they jump on you. Anyways, first person mode is smooth and there was a load of these moments that would just scare the crap out of me or my mates. However, the first person mode isn't perfect. For starters, there is no ADS, sort of. It's basically like Left 4 Dead, because when you try to zoom in or aim down sights, it just zooms in on the crosshairs rather than actually aiming down the sights. And it's even more painful when you have weapon upgrades like hollow sights and scopes, because you won't be using aiming down sights unless it's a sniper rifle. Though World War Z isn't a perfect game, it wasn't a perfect game when it released in 2019, and it's still got some problems now in Aftermath. For starters, there were moments in my game where it just decided that it didn't want to register my controller inputs. I'd randomly stop running forwards when a horde of zombies were back behind me and I couldn't move. And the only way I got around this was by turning my character around and walking backwards. Also, whether this is a negative or not, but it's something worth mentioning, it's the sawn-off shotgun. It's a staple weapon for a lot of shooters. The sawn-off shotgun generally holds 2 rounds, 1 for each barrel, right? However, if you press the fire button quickly enough, you can fire 3 rounds. It's a broken gun, but it's broken in a good way, right? Graphically too, World War Z isn't bad. When taking on a couple of zombies, you'll notice that it's quite gory, that heads will explode and limbs will be removed and so on. But when taking on hordes of zombies that are climbing walls, the detail is gone. Yes, it's likely due to the strain and requirements for your console or PC to continuously have hordes of zombies having this level of detail, but it's something worth noting. Also, being a game that literally has hundreds of zombies running towards you, there's a lot of reused character designs here, obviously. Now that's not a negative, because designing a heap of mindless zombies that don't look alike would be a lot of work. But not only is it a repetitive game, you'll notice that you're taking on the same zombies over and over again, just dealing with different environments. Again, it's not really a negative, it's just something to note with these styles of games. World War Z Aftermath, like basically every game that has a multiplayer, is best played with friends. Shit, if you've played Left 4 Dead before, you know exactly how fun that can be with friends compared to playing it solo with the AI. But the AI here in World War Z Aftermath is fucking dumb. I've seen them stand in toxic gas from the hazmat zombies and then had to worry about reviving them when they're close to dying, because if not, they'll turn into zombies, which is a cool mechanic, but a little painful because you're forced to keep the AI alive a little bit. If you haven't played World War Z before and you're looking for something to fill that Left 4 Dead hole in your gaming library for now, then yeah, it's fun, don't get me wrong. But with Back 4 Blood on the horizon, I think this version of World War Z should have been released a little earlier or a little further away from Back 4 Blood. It reminded me of that game that was that Overwatch copy that released just before Overwatch actually released, and we all know how well that did, didn't we? World War Z Aftermath is available now. It is crossplay, and World War Z is on the Xbox and PC Game Pass, and if you've got Game Pass, it's definitely worth looking at.
What the fuck? I wondered what got me and it was like, rats! Oh!